Welcome to the Biz Bash podcast, where we make biz strategy a piece of cake. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cami, but you might know us better as Eliza Ann Calligraphy and Cami Monet. We want to help you, our fellow stationers, artists, and calligraphers, confidently build a profitable and personality-driven creative biz.
We're here to share our honest-to-goodness advice and actionable strategies for ambitious artists.
So put on your party hat, quit being a procrastinator gator, and let's get this party started.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Biz Birthday Bash podcast. Very excited to be bringing you guys another guest today, Brittany of Brittany Ivey Designs. Hello, Brittany. We're so glad that you're here.
Hey, guys.
Yes.
Brittany,
and she's a fellow Tennessean, so I just have to throw it out there because I'm very excited.
Love from Knoxville.
Yes, the best state. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
All the Tennessee love. I love it. Brittany is another person who is a member of the A to Z directory and immediately jumped at the opportunity of coming on the podcast just to talk about her business, how she has things set up in her life in terms of balance and boundaries. So a little bit about her really quick. Brittany is a calligrapher and stationery designer based in Knoxville, Tennessee. She runs Brittany Ivey Designs, and she began her calligraphy journey in 2015 after learning from some of the best in the biz. She started her company in 2017. And as with many of us, 2020 obviously brought several pivots for many people, including the introduction of custom stationery design and a complete rebrand for her. Additionally, Brittany works full-time as a nonprofit technology consultant, which is like loaded. And so I'm really excited to hear her break down what that means and what she does. Because not only does she work full-time, but she also runs her creative business. And that is all that we're talking about today, basically, is running a side hustle biz with no intent to go full-time. Does anyone notice I can't talk today? This is just like going really well.
It's fine. It's shenanigans. It's Friday.
It's Friday.
Yep. We're recording this on a Friday. Exactly. So, Brittany, tell us a little bit about your thought process too. When you reached out, you're like, I want to be on the podcast, and you came up with this episode. Tell us a little bit about why you're passionate talking about this topic. And we will get to that a little more later in the episode, but I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, for sure. So I know for me, balancing my day job and my creative business is, an ongoing struggle, and it can be very challenging at times. And I know there are other creatives out there facing the same struggles. And I mean, it's a day in and day out, prioritizing and all of that. So I knew not only could other people relate, but I want those people to feel empowered, because I don't want them to feel like they have to go full time, that it is possible to balance both. And I feel like I've reached a really good place with that for myself. So I just kind of wanted to share that with everyone.
Yay. Thank you. I love that. I think the 2020 whole pivot year in general really made people open up about this more, which I think has been really good. So, official question number 1. What do you do for your day job? Could you break down the nonprofit technology consultant term for us a little bit, and then talk about when you started your creative endeavor as well? It's kind of a two-parter.
Yeah, for sure. So, like you said, nonprofit technology consultant. So, what that means in real life is that I help nonprofits with their CRMs and all things database related. So, most nonprofits have something where they manage their donor information and like their fundraising reporting and, volunteer hours and all of those different bits and pieces of information and analytics and reporting and such. So I help them with that. And I, focus on business processes and all of those types of fun things. So creatively, like you said, I've been doing calligraphy for about 5 years. Did it mostly as a hobby, and then took it to more of a business level about almost 4 years ago now. And then, like you said, with 2020, with a little bit of a slowdown in pace, I was able to add stationery design last year. So I had the little bit of extra time to kind of get that built up the way I wanted to and kind of learn some of the ins and outs. So,
is your custom stationery design mostly weddings? Because I'm going to say that was quite the year to introduce wedding stationery. Like,
Luckily, I was able to kind of
challenging.
learn it on the down low for about 6 months, and then when things started picking up, I was like, "Hey, by the way, guys, here's what I've been working on."
Yeah, I guess that could be good too, because then you have like a little bit of a slower year to like ease into it instead of just being
Exactly.
like full-fledged craziness. So
Yep, blessing in disguise.
yeah, for sure.
So you said that you feel like obviously a lot of people are pushing to ultimately like go full time with their creative biz. And I mean, Cami and I have done past episodes on it before. Like one of our very first episodes was how to go full time
Mhm.
with your biz, because it is one of the number one questions that we get from people. Like, how did you do it? What are the steps to take? That being said, like, do you think that the full time hustle is a little more glorified, kind of like from the social media standpoint, like that people have like a weird attitude towards if people are balancing both? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree with you. I do think it is a little bit glorified. There are a lot of wonderful resources about how to go full time. And I mean, they especially blew up last year. I think people kind of realized, like, oh, I want to pursue my dreams and, maybe my day job let me go or something like that. So I feel like, or maybe I was just paying more attention last year, but I do feel like more came out last year. But, alternatively, there aren't a lot of resources about how to balance having a creative biz and a day job. It's just, I don't think it's just as exciting or as, it doesn't have that you know, age old glorification of, you're your own boss or anything like that. It's not fun and sexy to have a guide on how to balance your daytime job, your creative biz, being a mom or, a sister, whatever, and balancing all of that. That's just not. But like I said, I think there are people out there that need that help and need that empowerment. So, kind of my hope right now is that for anyone who listens that, if even if they've already gone full time or if they've never worked a corporate job or if they still do want to go full time, that they can still listen to this and be like, okay, that makes sense, because really it comes down to balance and priorities. I'm just kind of offering another perspective. So if there's, anyone that feels like they should be trying to go full time, but have like this nagging feeling, even though they hear, here's how to do it and here's how wonderful it is, it's okay not to want that for yourself because everyone's different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think people are afraid that their business feels like less than if they're not full time. They're like, oh, it's just smaller and not like as big of a deal. But it's totally not. It's actually harder to do a full time job and a side hustle. Like that requires so much more time management and efficient processes, like more than just having all the time in the world to work on your business. So I definitely commend people. Like, I mean, I was side hustling for a while and it was very hard. Like I was trying to work on my lunch breaks. It was my time was split. My brain was split in two different places. Like it was very difficult. So I definitely think you're right that there should be more conversations about how to actually do that successfully and gracefully and just in a way that doesn't feel like chaotic, because I feel like it does feel chaotic, and still having time for yourself. Like obviously you can't work till like 2 a.m. every single night. Like that's just not how it works. So yeah, can you tell us more about why you have decided this is like the best path for you?
Yeah, this was huge for me. I kind of had like a light bulb moment last year. And it's a bit of a long story, but I'll kind of like weave it together for you guys.
You can tell the long story. Don't worry. We are here for it.
Yes.
So, I mean, it kind of starts with like, I feel like I need to acknowledge that part of it was I was unhappy in my full-time job. So, part of it was, okay, I kind of looked at starting to go full-time, but it was almost mostly as an escape, which I don't think is the right primary motivator for going full time. I don't think that necessarily bodes well. Like I said, I was super unhappy to the point that there was one day where I called my husband in the middle of the day, which like I never do. And I'm just sobbing and I'm boohooing because I'm so unhappy. And bless him, he's amazing. He's so sweet. He goes, okay, stop. He's like, grab a Post-it note. And I was like, okay, what am I doing with this Post-it note? And he's like, write down today's date, but add 2 years to it. I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, we're going to try to get you full time by that date. And even though that ended up not panning out, like I kept the Post-it note anyway, because just the thought was so sweet and such a good, motivator. So we start crunching the numbers and all of that. And the numbers were kind of there. I wasn't fully confident though. Plus like a year or two felt like a lifetime away. Like I just felt like, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it that long, So in the meantime, I was still applying to other full-time jobs, but really only if it was like exactly what I was looking for. So for a little bit of like background on my day job, kind of the backstory there, I worked in nonprofits. My degree from UT, whoop whoop.
Woo!
It's actually from accounting. It's accounting and information management. And I really loved the information management side of it, which is kind of the databases and stuff. So combining the two, I knew long term I wanted to help nonprofits with their database management. So I actually left nonprofit for a bit to get consulting experience, which I'm glad I did, but I was super unhappy in the moment. Like, it all panned out in the end. It all came together, but like I was really unhappy at the time. So I applied for the job that I have now. I actually did the first interview the evening of my birthday, of all things. Like, we canceled our dinner plans. My husband ended up working late anyway. Like, it all worked out, but that started a month-long interview process. So the big moment, the big, like, eye-opening, empowering moment that came was in the middle of that interview process. The Modern Creative Podcast, which I think you guys are, Elizabeth, don't you know Diana?
Yes.
Yeah.
We are friends with them,
Yes.
I would say. And I have like talked to Diana like a combination of probably like hours on the phone recently. Throughout the weeks, we've just been like talking a lot more. So yes, I do consider those women like dear friends.
Yeah, no, they're wonderful. So they did a podcast episode. I think it was early. It must have been, it was early November, where Joyce shared that she took on a full-time job. And for anyone that's like feeling this vibe right now, I went back and looked. It was episode 205. If you want to go give a listen,
You are on it, and I love it.
I'm an Enneagram 1. I can't help it. But when they did that episode, they sent out an email to their email list, and at the bottom of that email, they said, literally the last sentence, the closing sentence was, "You are not any less of a creative entrepreneur for having a day job too, okay?" Like, mic drop, like, glass shattered, like, all of that. Like, I think I literally cried when I read that. I don't know. Joyce, if you're listening, reach out, because I need to give you a big old virtual hug. Like, that literally impacted my life.
I will be sending this to her, just so you know, to be like, Joyce, you have to listen to this, because yes, I think she's awesome. And empowering people to have that perspective. Because, I mean, I agree. I do think that there was kind of like this like attitude, I don't want to say like nose up or whatever, that people were purposely trying to be like snooty about it, but kind of like when people would find out you did have something like full time, it's like, oh wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, you know, yeah.
Like,
so
poor you haven't gotten there yet kind of vibe. Yeah.
Poor you.
Poor you. I'm like, oh, guess you're not doing as well as I thought, kind of thing. And it's so silly. You're so right.
But I owe her a big virtual hug, because, like I said, that literally impacted my life. And I actually went back and looked at my phone. I screenshotted that email.
Okay.
And the date on my phone on the screenshot said November 10th. I accepted my day job 9 days later. And I was able to do so feeling so empowered and knowing that, like, I can do this. I can do both. It just looks different. And I have to accept that. And it's still success. It's just what does that look like to me?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm
just gonna cry.
I'm getting a little teary-eyed just talking about it again.
So good already. Like,
yeah, we talked to like, oh my gosh, who's your friend, Cammie, the interior designer who does something similar, where she also has a full-time job. We interviewed her.
We did? My friend? Who was it?
Are you friends?
I am totally blanking right now. I don't know.
We talked about Agreeable Gray with her.
Oh, Kelsey McNatt. Yes.
Thank you. Yes. She said something similar, Brittany. And so I'm just like really glad that you brought that up again.
For sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more creatives who have full-time jobs or even part-time jobs as well that we don't even realize, because normally you're not really talking about both jobs on social media. Like, your social media is typically like your business account. So like, people have stuff going on you don't even know, guys. Like, everyone is totally different, and it's totally fine that we all have our different versions of success, because success is not like one linear path. Like, it's going to be different for everybody. Everyone has different priorities, different goals, whether that's time, money, a little bit of both. Like, they all kind of are individual.
Did I totally derail you, Brittany? I'm sorry.
No, not at all. No, but that's actually a good lead in to, kind of the next point about, how do I have conversations about this? Like, what's best for me and my family and all of that. And like, it started on a really foundational level of like, I had to stop and have one of those like gut-wrenching, head-aching like evaluations of like my core values, which sometimes people hear that and it feels a little woo-woo, but I mean, legitimately, I had to stop and think about like, what do I want to achieve in my life? short term and long term. And it can't be like, oh, my family is important to me, or, oh, I want to be healthy. Like, it needs to be, no, I sit down and I write down that I value ABC because of this. Like, what are my non-negotiables? And for
Mhm.
me, like, what that looked like was I value stability and consistency. Like, I've always been that way. So there's a big difference to me between like, oh, I'm going to try this new paper. I'm feeling, risky today, versus like, oh, I'm going to give up my steady salary.
Yes. Those are two very different, risky kind of things. So,
And in terms of like the conversation of just when it comes to insurance and things like that, I think that's like a big reason sometimes where people really prefer to keep a day job as well, because they're like, I don't have to worry about this as an entrepreneur. And if I can do both and run both well, like then I also have that safety net and that element. I don't know if that was like part of it for you or not, but I know for some people, especially if they're in a place where they don't have a partner or spouse, like that can be really important.
Yeah, definitely. And it was a factor for me. I wanted to choose the path that let me have, full control over my business, because I still do. I still have full control over how I operate my business, my creative business. But at the same time, I'm not going to be as stressed about paying the mortgage and keeping the roof over my head.
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, I think that gives you like freedom too with your business to like take those risks because there's not as much pressure weighing on something. Like if I make a mistake and I'm like, well, I'm just going to see what happens and it doesn't go well, like, okay, I don't have money for that month, but like with you still would have, backup, which is great. So it does give you like a little bit more creative freedom almost, where you don't have to like calculate the weight of every single decision quite as much. Or I might be interpreting that wrong, but I feel like that's how I would feel if I was still doing a side hustle. I'd be like, oh, great. I can experiment more and like test things and not feel like so much pressure.
No, you're totally right. Like I can totally take more risks. And for me, it also kept a little bit of the joy of the creating process in there for me. Like you
Mhm.
said, a little less worried about, and I still look, at profit margins and all of that, because that's still important. I'm still running a business, but I'm a little more inclined to try something new, or, I'm less upset if something doesn't work. So no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, what does your client load look like right now then, since you are running your business mainly in the evenings? Like how do you manage that so that do you use email scheduling or strategies, or do you just like embrace the fact that like, hey, they're hearing from me in the evening and that's okay?
Yeah, I've kind of just embraced the fact that they hear from me in the evenings, maybe even a little bit on the weekends. And I think once I realized too that a lot of my clients, I mean, they're also working full time. So a lot of times they're communicating outside of quote unquote normal business hours, especially, once we're still in the middle of COVID times at recording this, but, once that passes, once we, can get face to face meetings again, I mean, they're going to kind of have the same schedule as me. So that actually hasn't been too big of a hurdle for me.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah,
So
that's a
then
great point too.
yeah, I know it is a great point because I've had a question on my questionnaire before like, are you able to talk during normal business hours? Because like I'm on the opposite spectrum where it's like I don't want to schedule a call in the evening with you, Like I'd rather avoid that, but and then you kind of like feel bad because you're forcing them to be, restricted to a time when like they also are working. So that is actually a distinct advantage for you.
Yeah, so let's talk more about like logistics about how this works because as someone who already feels pressed for time and I literally have all the time in the world, I'm like fascinated that you work full time and still make the time to do your side hustle. So what are like your best practices for time management or like what types of tools are you using to make this actually work really well for you?
Yeah, so it started with the mindset that like time is my most valuable resource. Like I have to protect it with every ounce of my being. And I try not to plan out like every minute of my day because most people don't want to live like that. Like I don't want to live like that. So I've really focused lately on creating a schedule that kind of helps me achieve like a flow state, which inherently kind of creates boundaries around my time. And it does take a little bit of like experimenting, I've realized that I design better if I'm working on like a stationery suite. I do better working on that at 7:30 in the morning than I do at 8:30 at night when I'm kind of tired. I've worked the full day. I'm not feeling quite as creative and motivated. So I've really focused on like that flow state. And even, in my day job too, where, sometimes I just need to put my phone on do not disturb. So I'm not checking Instagram or coming up with those messages and stuff. Like you do have to create those boundaries of keeping them separate. It's also funny, I have to consciously tell myself not to multitask. I need to be fully present, so I can't be, checking Instagram messages while I'm listening to a conference call for work. Like, I can't do that.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to be fully present when I am working on whichever aspect I'm working on. And I say that coming from the perspective of I've balanced my business while working in an office pre-COVID. I've balanced it while traveling a lot for work. So in my prior position, I was traveling for like a full work week at a time and balancing my business with that. And then, currently working from home, which actually comes with more balance issues than most people would realize because it's so tempting to just go downstairs at lunch and start working on something. It's harder to step away. So I would say that's also, besides kind of the typical points of, you guys have talked about automating and outsourcing and, making sure you're investing in a CRM and taking the time to set it up correctly and all of that. But outside of those, just making sure that I'm prioritizing my time.
Yeah. So, like, how are you managing your clients? Do you have a system you prefer for that?
Yes, I am a big fan of Dubsado.
Yeah, Dubbies.
And that comes from a CRM person. So,
ooh, wow, ultimate little plug there.
Yes, Dubbies unite. I love it.
Yep.
So you were talking earlier about how like sometimes it's easier to work in the morning before your job to like have like that fresh creativeness. Do you find that to be a struggle in terms of like motivation? Like you just worked 8 hours and you're like, oh crap, and now I got to come home and work and get some more. Like, how do you kind of overcome that feeling of not feeling overworked?
Yeah, that can be a struggle just because it leads to burnout almost like twice as quickly as maybe someone who's only doing one or the other. Yeah, so just finding the best times to do everything that fit kind of my personal flow, and also creating those specific times for rest too. It's very easy to get caught up in I actually made a joke to one of my coworkers the other day that like, yeah, when I'm not working, I'm working. And that's probably not the best mindset to have. So something I instituted pretty recently is like, for example, Friday nights. I sign off work at 5 or 6 o'clock, whatever it is, and I don't do either job for Friday night. And it has to be very intentional. And that's probably, I guess, my biggest like takeaway there is that you have to be so intentional with not letting yourself get carried away with working either one or the other. Because there will be times where, my day job picks up and is super busy because it's project based and projects ebb and flow just like weddings do. So I'm not saying you have to be very much a planner type to be successful. You don't, but you do have to plan to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great tweetable quote. We need that. Great. Yeah, you're so right too about the being intentional with rest, because if you're not like, hey, I'm going to like chill this afternoon or whatever, you'll just get carried away and swept up in all the things. And it's so easy. And you have so many things you could get carried away with. I can imagine it's twice as hard. So.
And I've learned to kind of embrace the occasional like late night or whatever. Embrace, I might have to drink some extra coffee or drink like an energy drink to kind of plow through some stuff at night. But I take the Cami approach and I try to make it fun.
So with your full-time job, are your coworkers and your boss like aware that you have a side hustle, or you like keep it on the DL?
Yeah, they're aware. It's actually funny. We do this kind of like bi-weekly kind of like a morale boosting, like where everyone gets on for half an hour and someone talks about like a topic they're passionate about or their hobby or whatever. And I'm still pretty new to the organization. So I'm like, hey, I'm the new girl. I'll talk about calligraphy. So I put on this whole presentation about, some of the projects I've done that I'm proud of and like what calligraphy even is for some people that don't know. And they were just blown away. It was so cool to share that part of myself with them. And they were so impressed. So, I'm open about it. And I even kind of made the joke with them that like, if you see something get posted on Instagram in the middle of the day, like I use Planoly to help plan out my post ahead of time. Like I promise I'm working, and got a chuckle out of that. But yeah, I I think there's a boundary between sharing it and being honest and like oversharing. And that goes both ways. Like, I don't need to tell my wedding clients that, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, this work client of mine is doing blah, 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 blah. And, I got caught up doing this. Like, they don't necessarily need to hear all of that because it starts to sound a little bit like an excuse. Like, maybe I would almost feel like maybe they stop trusting you a little bit. I don't know. But yeah, I'm definitely honest and just, for a lot of them, they have hobbies too. They travel, they do all this. This is my hobby, but it's just more of an official hobby with a business.
It's a hobby that makes money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of hobby. Oh man. Oh my gosh. This is like full of gems. Brittany, I'm obsessed with you. You're like my favorite person.
You're sweet.
Okay. So obviously you're a member of our A to Z directory and
Yes.
We're so happy you're there. So can you just tell us how the A to Z directory group and the vendor directory has helped you in your business?
Of course. So it has helped me, honestly, like going back to my point about time being my most valuable resource. It has saved me so much time. And I talked about, I was just introduced stationery design over the past year. And when you're first learning it, it's a lot to learn. You got to figure out not only how to design stuff, but like where to get it printed. And that just seemed like such a bear. I was so scared of that aspect, but honestly, it was such a great resource, the directory and the Facebook group to, and I say that with a little bit of like hesitancy because I don't want someone to get quote unquote lazy and like not search for solutions themselves. I think that's an important part of the process too. But when you're like hard pressed for time and you've got to just figure something out, having that resource to turn to has been so valuable.
Yes, for sure. We definitely want to continue to like empower people to do research for themselves as much as possible. But you're right, when people are like restricted on time, that was like honestly a big part of the reason we created it in the first place, because it's like if you're restricted on time, or like the hard thing is you don't know what you don't know. So sometimes people are like totally at a loss what to even search for when they're trying to find like ceramic wholesale ornaments, something like that. There you go, guys. That's a little gem. Like when you're searching for things, just like using the right terms to search. People can feel really lost for that. So we're glad that you're loving it and that it makes your life a little easier. That's very good to hear.
For sure.
And also, we're curious, have you been able to like create friends real life or otherwise through the group or like through Instagram? Because we always love hearing stories of like friendships, online friendships coming to life.
Oh, honestly, I hate that I haven't. But to be honest, I think I joined like maybe not too long before COVID. Oh, I don't remember exactly when I joined, but unfortunately, no, I haven't made any new Calligra besties or anything through the group yet. But I've found so many women or I guess women and men that I admire. And, that actually brings up maybe a piece of advice that I could share is like, don't get FOMO and don't feel like you have to do all the things that everyone else is doing. Because I'll see so many ideas. I'm like, ooh, this person's doing this. And I think my ideal client would love that. That sounds like so much fun. But then I just have to accept that I don't have the time and that's not a priority right now. Add it to the idea list for later. But, there are so many inspiring people in the group that I just have to kind of have some self-control.
Yeah. And then you do have it as a resource later, right? If a client ever asks for something like that, you're like, I'll just file that away for later in my little like file effects. File effects. I'll come back later. That's what some of the feedback we've gotten to. People get excited because they'll see certain people in the group and they're like, oh my gosh, like she's here or this person is here. Like, this is so cool to be part of a like-minded community, because then at least you don't feel as alone in your creative journey.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I just need everyone's Instagram names to be next to their name in the group, because I just like remember people by their Instagram handles and I'm like, oh, wait, finally make the connection of who you are. Okay. Like, I just need that for myself.
Yeah, some people use first middle names instead of like first and last names on Facebook. So then that makes it even more like confusing when I'm trying to figure out who's who.
Oh my gosh, that was a big part of the reason I rebranded last year, is because I wasn't using my name in my prior business brand. And I was like, I'm constantly introducing myself as like, hi, I'm Brittany. And just getting that blank stare. And then I'm like, oh, the TriStar Scribe. And they're like, oh, okay.
That is so funny. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that decision. I know that was like another topic that you had pitched as a potential full podcast episode. So you don't have to go too deep into that. But if you can like share with your audience your mentality when it came to rebranding that way, that would be great. Because we do have people asking questions. So if we can give them a little like gold nugget about that, I'm sure they would love it.
For sure. It was an interesting process. And overall, looking back at it, it really wasn't that painful because I planned so much in advance. And I kind of just shared some of my logic was, I want to be able to share more of myself into my business and, have my clients know who I am as a person, even if it's just my name, which they weren't even knowing my name at that point. I went through this course where part of it was, I talked about evaluating my core values, and we looked at core values and, what are your brand pillars, and, what do you want to build your business as, and who is your ideal client? Just going through the ideal client exercise alone was eye-opening. And I realized that what I was putting out there with my previous brand wasn't speaking to my ideal client. I didn't feel like it was going to attract the right type of audience. So I was like, okay, I need to pivot, and I need it to still feel like me. And I want them to know who I am. So that kind of started shaping, okay, I want to use my name. In what format do I use my name? And then going through all the typical stuff of, okay, is it available on social media? What do I need to switch over? When do I switch it over? And I planned it as, one big morning where I kind of switched everything at once and made it into almost like a launch type deal. So just to kind of build some excitement beforehand and build some excitement the morning of. And I mean, you sit there with like hands shaking like 3 minutes before you're about to push, change on everything, especially social media like Instagram. Changing my Instagram name was like, oh my gosh, so nerve-wracking. But when all was said and done, it went so well, and I've gotten such a good response. And actually, here's another gold nugget. I still can't believe this happened to me. When I posted like my announcement that I had changed, I had just changed the Instagram name, the very first person to like the post was a previous client that I based my ideal client off of.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like,
yes. Oh,
yes.
Good for validation.
Exactly.
Yes. Such a good sign. You're like, oh, this is so positive. So I do have to ask, your old Instagram handle, this is something that I've talked to people about before. Did you keep the TriStar Scribe as an old Instagram handle and just switch them? Or is that like, I don't want to say up for grabs because I don't want somebody to go like take it if it exists in the universe? Or what was your thought process on that? Because I know people get nervous with that sometimes too,
Right. I'm trying to remember what I did. Okay, so I think what I did was, so I completely changed my existing account to the new name. And then what I did was actually created a new account and claimed, I think what I had to do was do like the TriStar Scribe and like add an extra period or something at the end. My thought process with that was if they are still looking for the TriStar Scribe, they'd be typing in at least the beginning of that. So the period at the end wouldn't throw off the beginning. So it'd probably still show up in the search results. And then I think it took about 2 weeks after I changed my real one for the TriStar Scribe without the extra period to become available again. I think there's like kind of a 2-week waiting period. And once that happened, I just dropped the period on the secondary one. And then I've got the secondary set up to where the only account it follows is my actual one.
Yes.
And then the bio obviously says like, we've moved, go follow us here or whatever. And I still get some people that, are obviously copying and pasting like vendor lists from a styled shoot or whatever and still tag TriStar Scribe accidentally, but I'm not too worried about it.
Yes, that is brilliant. I was like, Brittany seems very much like a planner, and she would probably use this because I have witnessed people change brands and drop their old Instagram handle that they've used for years without doing what you did. So I'm very glad that you shared that because I think everyone should take that approach. Like if I ever change from Eliza Ann Calligraphy, you better bet your dollar I will freaking have an account that still says Eliza Ann Calligraphy because I have built my brand name that way for 5 years. So everybody, please do what Brittany did if you do change your name because you don't want somebody to then make an Instagram handle with that name, right? And everyone's going like to the TriStar Scribe still thinking it's you. that would just be like wildly confusing.
Oh my gosh. I'm like sweaty just thinking about that scenario.
I did learn one lesson the hard way. So as planning and thinking about it, it's like, okay, I want to do Brittany Ivey Designs. And originally I wanted it without any periods or punctuations within the name. I just wanted, straight letters. And so I was like, oh, I need to go out there and claim it really fast. And I wasn't thinking because I was just so excited. So I went out and claimed Brittany Ivey Designs with no punctuation. And then I was like, oh, wait. I actually just want to change my current name, but then I couldn't because I had already accidentally claimed the other one and didn't realize there was like a 2-week waiting period. So my one that I ended up with, and it's fine, it all worked out, was, it's Brittany Ivey .designs, which actually kind of works out well just because it separates like my name from the word designs.
Mm-hmm.
But don't go out and claim the new one thinking you'll just hang on to it and then switch, because it doesn't always work out that way.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good to know, because I totally would have assumed the same thing. I bet Instagram has changed that, because like a few years ago I heard of somebody who switched theirs and they were able to do it immediately. But I bet that they have probably built that in for that little bit of like buffer time for a reason. So probably for legal reasons, to be honest. So oh, that's amazing. Cami, what other questions do we have, or should we talk about?
Well, I did want to ask you one more question, Brittany. What is your favorite thing about the A to Z directory?
Oh, goodness.
I'm just bringing it back to that real quick. So.
My favorite thing about the directory, it's got to be the Facebook group. I mean, there's such a good rapport. There's such a good rapport in there, and everyone is just so helpful. And I mean, there have been times where I've kind of held back on posting because I didn't want to seem like a total newbie or a total like dumb, but everyone in there has been so welcoming and so kind, and it's really searchable, which I appreciate, going back to the point of like, I ain't got a lot of time. I want to be able to jump in there, use the search feature, find what I'm looking for, and move on. And it's been really helpful with that. So gotta love the Facebook group.
Good. I love hearing that you love it so much. It is easy to use and it's fun.
Feel free to post your stupid questions. We love stupid questions.
Yes. There is like no shame here at all, because we have such a huge variety of people in their creative journeys that it's like, I would never poo-poo anyone for any question. So, and also I think it kind of plays in with psychology, because when people pay to be part of something, they're going to be that more involved and that more caring, especially because they know that they're in a community that is like protected in a sense, quote unquote protected, I guess, because there are a lot of Facebook groups out there. I think one of the biggest questions is people are like, why should I join this one when I can have a million other ones for free?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just don't understand like how freaking great everyone is in this group. I can't make people understand it if they're not in it. So
we're more
so
invested in it, like with money and emotion.
Yeah. It's like a secret club. And I just feel like no one's going to share your secrets. Like we all just have this like understood agreement, like what happens in the Facebook group stays in the Facebook group. And I like that, it's not public where people are going to like, I don't know, potentially screenshot something. And I don't know, it's not like we're doing anything weird in there, guys. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just nice to have that.
We even started a Peloton hashtag. I mean, come on.
I know,
Good
guys.
times.
Mine should, in theory, be here by the time this episode goes live. So
I've had mine for about 2-3 weeks now, and it kicks my butt on a daily basis.
Well, I'm super stoked. And especially because it's like I obviously made the hashtag Biz Birthday Bash, but haven't been able to like actually really like do anything yet. So yeah, there's all sorts of like fun things that go on in there, including like this giveaway that we're doing, which by the time this episode airs, I also think will have passed. But we love spoiling our members. That is all I have to say.
Okay. Oh, now I feel like I need to get a Peloton. I feel left out. Dang it.
Do it.
Cami, I personally think you would probably thrive with a Peloton from everything I've heard about it, because you're so high energy and you would be there and you'd be getting all competitive, like trying to like pass people and like high five them while you go past them.
I would get like way too amped. I'd like put it in my office and like check my emails like while I'm on it.
They make little like desk attachments that you can attach in front of the screen.
That's what I need.
Wow, that is crazy. Oh, that's so funny. All right, Brittany. So we're kind of wrapping up on our time a little bit. It has been so wonderful. And so our last question that we've really been enjoying asking people lately is, what do you want to do more of in 2021? And what are you hoping to leave behind from 2020?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Okay. Assuming that everything goes well with, pandemic recovery, I can't wait to get back into live events and connecting people with calligraphy again, whether that's workshops or I really want to get into live lettering events. That's not really being done in my market, so I'm really excited to kind of start introducing it. And then leaving behind, I'm going to say it. I want to leave behind style shoots. I think I'm outgrowing them.
Yes. I love it. Left those in the dust a long time ago.
The only style shoots you need to do are for yourself if you want to show off a mock-up or a new idea or a new product. Like, just create something for you and take some beautiful photos and you're like, style shoot over. Boom.
So much less pain.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, and for those of you wondering, like, whoa, what's the hate? You can go back and listen to some of our past episodes on style shoot and strategies, and we also talk about, like, if you're going to be part of them, how to actually make it successful and what to watch out for. It's not just us hating on style shoots. It's just that they're a lot more complicated than people realized and a lot more nuanced than people realized. So, but I love that, Brittany.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of a funny that I can share with you guys to kind of close.
Yes.
So I saved that style shoot episode. I actually played it in the car when my husband and I were driving down for a little vacation, weekend getaway. So we played that episode. So I made him listen to it too. And so he gets so frustrated when I'm frustrated about a style shoot. And he was like, well, remember what the podcast girl said?
I love this so much. I can just picture your husband having to listen to us like talk like turkeys for an hour.
I know. I wonder, like, how many people's partners have been dragged into, like, hearing us, because I know, like, my dad's given me a hard time before. He's like, all you guys do during your podcast is laugh. And I'm like, Dad, you're not our demographic.
You don't even know. Okay. We're super funny.
So I'm always so curious, like, when other, like, specifically other men, like, listen to us, like, what they think. But I'm glad we're the podcast girls. I am honored. I am honored.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, Brittany, I was about to ask you where you live in Knoxville, but I don't want to, like, give away your location in case someone's trying to stalk you.
We'll do that offline.
We can talk offline because I just want to hear all the things. But yes, thank you so much for coming on this show. This has been such a good episode, and we have lots of side hustlers out there. So I hope this just, like, inspires them more to, like, it's okay to be doing a side hustle, and, like, it's totally fine, and you're still awesome, and you can still do amazing things, just like Brittany. And also make sure you change your Instagram name the right way, because that's stressful. So, so yes, thank you, Brittany. This was great.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead and tell people again where they can find you, just so they can follow up and be friends and connect.
Yeah, so find me on Instagram primarily. It's BrittanyIvey.designs, and it's Brittany with 2 T's, A-N-Y, and Ivey is I-V-E-Y.
Okay, perfect. And that is also your website, BrittanyIveyDesigns.com.
Yep, you got it.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for listening to this episode today, everyone. As you know, we love hearing from you guys. We love reading your reviews. So if you can take a moment to leave us a rating and review on iTunes, that would be greatly appreciated. That is how other creatives are able to find us and find these episodes. And if you've loved what Brittany has talked about today, like, please screenshot your phone as you're listening to this, upload it to your stories, tag us, tag Brittany, let us know that you're listening so that we can reshare with our audiences too, because let's normalize having a side hustle and not feeling the pressure to go full time. Like, that is something I think our community, like, needs, like, for people to not feel bad or any less because of it, because some people love it. Clearly, Brittany loves it and has made it work. And another thing, too, is that if you have questions for us, you can go to bizbirthdaybash.com, scroll down to the footer, and click Q and Cake. You can drop us a question there, and then hopefully it'll get answered on one of our Q and Cake episodes that we do every 5 weeks. So I think that's it for today, guys. Brittany, thank you again. We just look forward to staying in touch with you, not only in the group, but also on social media.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, we just wanted to hop in and talk about one of our amazing resources, the A to Z directory. All of us have thought at some point, how did she do that or how did she make that? And maybe you don't know where to start or how the heck to produce this amazing product you've dreamt up.
Well, the A to Z directory is the missing puzzle piece in your biz, you guys, seriously. So it's built in the form of a yearly membership, and it's your one-stop shop for finding suppliers and vendors for all the things. Literally where to print everything from custom invitations, greeting cards, mugs, koozies, acrylic printing, letterpress, custom ribbon. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it literally goes from A to Z. From acrylic printers to zipper pouches, we have it in the A to Z directory.
We want to help all of you search less and create more with this list of 300 plus vendors and suppliers. Don't worry, they're very organized. It's not going to be overwhelming and confusing when you join. And this membership also includes access to a private Facebook community. It's incredibly active and involved. And if you need a question answered fast, that is definitely the place to go.
Yeah, our Facebook group really is the best. You guys, everyone is so helpful in there. And we're in there too, answering questions you guys might have. So it's a great way to get access to us and ask us things without sliding into our DMs. So we're more likely to answer you in the Facebook group, just saying. Anyway, also in the Facebook group, this is new for 2020 and we're really excited about it. We are hosting monthly Power Hour Q&A sessions that are live, and these are only available to our A to Z directory members. So you can hop in with us live and ask us all your burning questions in real time and just hang out with us every month. And we do these at different times so you can actually be there live, and the replays are always available in the Facebook group for members.
This resource is priced at $147 a year, which honestly is extremely affordable and is full of so many benefits, such as exclusive vendor coupons for members only. And we would love to have you guys join. Seriously, it's kind of like our family and our tribe. So visit bizbirthdaybash.com/directory to sign up today and use coupon code podcast2020 to receive $20 off your first year. That's podcast, all caps, 2020 for $20 off your first year.
We can't wait to see you in the Facebook group.